because it wasn't a imminent threat. It wasn't an imminent concern. And then it became one with this run, with this series of activities against Iran.
I was reading about the pages the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. I'd kind of seen something on my feed, but I thought I'd research it. And essentially, Israel had managed to get the Iranian forces to wear pages that they had manufactured with bombs inside them, and then they exploded all the pages.
I mean, even more impressive than that, they didn't get anybody to wear a page. They found the model and type of pager, they found the supply chain, they found the fabricator for that, and then they infiltrated the fabricator to make sure that they input those explosive devices into the same make and model that was going to end up in the hands of Hezbollah. And then
that was in Lebanon, by the way.
Oh yeah, that was okay.
Lebanon, yeah.
But that's a proxy army of Iran.
The other thing I want to point out is Western intelligence, the CIA especially, completely missed 1979.
Yes.
It's one of its biggest failures in the modern era. The United States and other Western agencies, even Israel, are notoriously ineffective when it comes to, I think, fully understanding what's happening in Iran. What the Israelis accomplished with their Mossad agents is remarkable, but in terms of the sentiment, the mood on the street, and the people's appetite for this group or that entity, for whatever reason, maybe you can shed light on this. I am trying to understand why the United States has such a poor history of understanding, going all the way back to the 53 coup as a classic case. Yeah. Even MI6 doesn't get it right. How is it that they're so bad at this there, but they can seem to do it everywhere else?
You can't expect any intelligence organization, you can't expect any professional intelligence organization to be right 100% of the time. Intelligence this is something that people often misunderstand, right? Intelligence isn't when you know something to be true. When you know something to be true, it's a fact. Even if it's a secret that you know to be true, it's a fact. Intelligence is your estimation, your guess
Analysis,
of what you don't know. Because if you knew it, it would be a fact.
How does something like October 7th happen when there is so much intelligence in the region and there's these Mossad forces, there's the CIA? Was it hundreds of people stormed the border of Israel and did this brutal attack? Presumably they had intel that was going to happen.
Correct. I mean, the findings since the day of the attack have shown that there were multiple reports, there were multiple operators and officers who escalated this problem. One of the downsides of democracy is that when you have a bureaucracy that has channels of command and people have to agree and collaborate and validate each other's information, everything moves much slower. So and anybody can contribute to this, but for October 7th, the IDF was in charge of border patrol, border security. The IDF meaning the Israeli Defense Force, which is a military unit. They were in charge of the location where the attack happened. And they saw evidence of rehearsals and practice attacks, and they saw an escalation of conflict. And they reported up through the bureaucratic chain of command. But somewhere in that chain of command, somebody saw it differently.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Shin Bet, which is essentially the FBI equivalent in Israel.
Internal security,
never got the complete, accurate memo from IDF. And then Mossad's information on what may or may not be happening was obviously never part of the finished intelligence that did make it up to the policymakers. So there was evidence that was only really identified post-fact, which is exactly what happened with 9/11 too. There was information that was only identified after the fact.
And I think it's also the good old cliche, hindsight is 20/20. Applies in all of these situations, whether it's Pearl Harbor or 9/11. I mean, intelligence failures are what change the trajectory of history.